So today's video will be about chapter wise most important topics of science for Cbse exams class 10 prepared by Sagni Kanif Sahu. So chemistry, chemical reactions and equations, chemical equations, balancing chemical equations, types of chemical equations, corrosion, acids, bases and salts. So important is to know about the chemical properties of acids and bases, pH values and salts. Salts means you need to cover everything related to salts, like the extraction of salts, the process of their preparation, or the electrolysis of any kind of salts, etc. Then metals and non-metals. In metals and non-metals, chemical properties of metals, how do metals and non-metals react, extraction of metals, corrosion. Corrosion is also given in chemical reactions and equations, and corrosion is also given in metals and non-metals. But in chemical reactions and equations, very limited information is given. In metals and non-metals, more information is also provided on corrosion and the methods to prevent corrosion, etc. Extended information is provided, and a lot is also given about alloys, various types of alloys, properties of alloys, etc., which is also related, like it is alloying is also a method to prevent corrosion. And carbon and its compounds, entire chapter is very important because it forms the basis of organic chemistry. So carbon and its compounds is quite important chapter because it is the introduction to organic chemistry to the students who are studying in standard 10th. In biology, life processes, in chapter life processes, nutrition, respiration, transportation and excretion, all these four processes to be studied thoroughly, especially in the case of human beings. All these four life processes, nutrition, respiration, transportation and excretion, need to be studied thoroughly in human beings, along with the transportation and nutrition part in case of plants also seems to be quite important. And life process is indeed the largest chapter of the book. Then control and coordination. In control and coordination, you are having nervous system coordination or the neural coordination in animals and plants. Then hormones in animals and the endocrine system, the various endocrine glands, various animal hormones in human beings and the endocrine system. Then the feedback mechanism. Feedback mechanism is actually all about how the hormones respond to different situations and how the hormones are synthesized, and when a particular hormone is synthesized in more amount and when it has to be synthesized and releases less amount. Such mechanisms are followed like feedback mechanism. It is given in details, like the example of insulin and glucagon is also given in the chapter. In the NCERT textbook, it is also given about insulin and glucagon as an example in the feedback mechanism, which is very important. Then the phytohormones or the hormones in plants. Hormones in plants, functions of various plant hormones. Then how do organisms reproduce? How do organisms reproduce? Some take this chapter not so seriously and some take this chapter very seriously, which is a big problem. Some don't take this chapter at all seriously and some take this chapter very seriously and very deeply, which is a problem. And what kind of problems I am talking about, it is already understood. So various asexual modes of reproduction used by organisms. Many don't study this. Various asexual modes of reproduction used by organisms. Many don't study this part. Then sexual reproduction in human beings, especially female part. This thing has to be understood thoroughly. Many a times case studies are asked on this part. Some other questions are also asked in this part. Then sexual reproduction in flowering plants. Last time in the 2023 examination, in one of the sets, directly a case study came in sexual reproduction in flowering plants, which helped the students to get straight 4 marks in their examination. Then contraception, various contraceptive methods. Then in heredity, sex determination in human beings, and then monohybrid and dihybrid plants. It also forms the basis of genetics. Then our environment, food chains and food web, and then the effect of human activities on the environment, and the concepts like biological magnification. In food chains and food web also, the transfer of energy questions are also directly asked from the concept of transfer of energy. Sometimes case studies could also be asked. And in heredity also, in most of the exams, it is from heredity chapter. In monohybrid and dihybrid cross, mostly a 4 mark, either a 4 mark case study or a kind of 3 mark question is expected. Then in physics, light reflection and refraction. In light reflection and refraction, you are having numerical problems on spherical mirror using mirror formula, but some questions may seem to be quite tricky and not necessarily involve the directly putting the mirror formula and getting the answer. It may involve some typical questions. Like instead of giving u and v directly, it may give the distance between object and image is this much, or a virtual image is formed on this side or that side. Many tricky kind of data can also be given on spherical mirror, so it is important to solve them thoroughly. Numericals on spherical lens, similar case also goes for spherical lens. And when students they study spherical mirror and spherical lens, they sometimes get confused between the spherical mirror and spherical lens, so that has to be taken care. Then ray diagrams on spherical mirrors and spherical lenses. Then numerical problems on Snell's law and refractive index. In Snell's law and refractive index, and also the concepts like real depth and apparent depth, like mu or the refractive index equal to real depth by apparent depth. Then glass slab. Like it can also ask that you use Snell's law and prove that angle of incidence equal to angle of emergence in case of glass slab. Then human eye and the colorful world. More concept based chapter. Human eye and the colorful world is more concept based chapter and also less important chapter. Generally less number of questions are asked in the examination from the chapter human eye and the colorful world. And as far as solving problems is concerned, it only involves solving problems based on defects of vision. That is also rarely asked. But diagrams, there is a high chance for that the examiners may ask for diagrams like defects of vision and their correction, the human eye and the colorful world, defects of vision and their correction, refraction of light through a prism, dispersion of light, atmospheric refraction, scattering of light. Atmospheric refraction does not necessarily mean that you will learn the definition of just learn the definition of atmospheric refraction and go. It means that you need to learn the applications as well, because in modern day examinations generally the application based questions are asked. So various applications of atmospheric refraction has to be learned, like the twinkling of stars and the scattering of light. One important experiment is also given in the NCERT textbook of standard 10th, that is using a sodium thiosulfate solution, sodium thiosulfate with concentrated sulfuric acid. A colloidal solution is prepared and the experiment of scattering of light is also done. Those kinds of experimental based questions can also be asked in the examinations. Then electricity, Ohm's law, which is V equal to IR. Then series and parallel combination of resistors and circuit problems. The complex circuit problems, there is a fair chance that complex circuit problems could also be asked in the examinations. So those has to be practiced thoroughly. Then integration of the concepts of electric power and heat with series and parallel combination of resistors. Sometimes the questions can become more complex when the concepts of electric power and heat is integrated with the concept of series and parallel combination of resistors. Then the household circuits. Actually, some basic questions are also asked in the household circuits. In one of the examinations, one question was asked like related to the fuse wire, which is used in the household circuits. That is the application of the heating effect of electric current. So one assertion and reason type question was asked, and a number of students also failed to give the correct answer. So household circuits also becomes quite important, means how these concepts can be related to household circuits. So it can also be asked in the case study, because how these concepts like the concepts of series and parallel combination of resistors and the complex circuit problems and how they are integrated with the electric power and heat with the series and parallel combination, and so how those ideas could be applied in the household circuits, those ideas of heating effect of electric current and all, how they could be applied in the household circuits. Some complex problems could also be formed on that, and mostly assertion and reason questions could also be asked on that. And then bulbs, household circuits and bulbs. The concepts of combination of resistors is also closely linked with the bulbs that we use in our houses actually. The bulbs that we use in our houses. Then the dependency of the resistance of a conductor on various factors. Sometimes multiple choice questions and sometimes also in 2-mark questions it is asked how the resistance of a conductor is dependent on various factors. The formulas like R equal to rho L by A. Applying that, various questions could also get formed. Then magnetic effects of electric current. In magnetic effects of electric current, the basic concept of magnetic field has to be made clear. Then field lines, the magnetic field lines. Then field due to a current carrying conductor. Like you are keeping any form of current carrying conductor in the external magnetic field. That kind of concept. Field due to current carrying coil or solenoid. The idea of solenoid and how it resembles the magnetic field lines of a bar magnet, and where the strength of field is maximum, where the strength of field is minimum, where it is moderate in case of solenoid, and what is the strength at the poles, etc. Then force on a current carrying conductor, which is given by one of the famous formulas, that is F equal to BIL sin theta. And some students commit one mistake when they study electricity and magnetism, both the chapters, and magnetic effects of electric current. Some students actually start applying Ohm's law in the external magnetic field, which should not be done. When external magnetic field is given and further sufficient data are not given, then it is not wise to apply Ohm's law. Some wrong analysis may also happen. We should not apply Ohm's law in the external magnetic field. External magnetic field, the laws which are specifically given, Ohm's law is indeed a basic law which is used for ohmic conductors, but if there is separate rules and regulations are given on external magnetic field, when the current carrying conductor is kept in an external magnetic field, then that has to be applied while considering how much force the current carrying conductor experiences. So Fleming's left hand rule. Fleming's right hand rule was also deleted from the Cbse syllabus. So Fleming's left hand rule. Fleming's left hand rule is useful on force on the current carrying conductor. To find out that, Fleming's left hand rule is quite useful. And another hand rule was actually right hand rule, right hand thumb rule, or Maxwell's corkscrew rule. Right hand thumb rule or Maxwell's corkscrew rule, which is also useful in field due to a current carrying it is useful regarding means the magnetic field that a conductor produces. The conductor is not kept in the magnetic field actually. Here actually two components are there in right hand thumb rule. In Fleming's left hand rule, three components are there in that way, which you would be learning in the due course of time. Fleming's left hand rule, then direct current. Actually, direct current means you need to learn the definition of direct current only. That much is only given in the Cbse syllabus. In many coaching classes and in competitive exams, they for the preparation of competitive exams, they teach everything related to direct current and alternating current. But as per the syllabus that is prescribed by the Cbse, one has to only know direct current and the definition of direct current and alternating current, and then frequency of AC in India and abroad, then advantages of AC over DC, then domestic electric circuits. These domestic electric circuits can also be closely integrated with the electricity chapter and learn. There is no such issue. Domestic electric circuits can be easily integrated with the electricity chapter. And now, some people will ask which chapter is more important among these 4 chapters in physics. But actually the thing is, some students, they are good in the light part, means light reflection and refraction. That's another associated chapter is the human eye and colorful world. Some do well in the light part actually, so they need to give more focus for electricity and magnetic effects of electric current. And some they do well, some are already, some people they do excellent in electricity and magnetic effects of electric current chapter, so they should not ignore magnetic effects and electricity. But if they are not doing excellent in light, then they need to also focus in light chapters as well. But in many cases actually it happens that light reflection and refraction, such chapters are taken taught in the beginning of the session, so most of the students do it thoroughly. But when the loads of subject increase, and generally in schools and coaching institutes and all, they teach the electricity and magnetic effects of electric current chapter hurriedly in order to complete the course, then students need to focus on those chapters thoroughly in such a case. And mostly most of the students, they complete generally the light portions in their vacations and all, so most of the students generally need to focus more on electricity and magnetic effects of electric current. But at the beginning of the session, in most of the educational institutes, light reflection and diffraction is taught. So at the beginning of the session, students need to focus on light reflection and refraction.